Hello and welcome to Mediumship Matters with me, Hannah Macintyre. So, as you all will know, I'm in the middle of a run of interviews at the moment with some truly inspirational and incredible people. And there's more to come. It's really, really exciting. I've got more interviews lined up with people. Can't wait to bring you some different perspectives because it shouldn't always just be about mine. And that's really, really important when you go on a spiritual development journey, that you question everything, that you open up to different beliefs, different ideas. You know, I've learned as much from things that didn't resonate with me as things that did. And it's always fascinating to have a real open conversation with somebody who sort of believes what you believe, but slightly differently. It always helps to open you up. So today's podcast is titled Spiritual Slaps. And for those of you that haven't heard me use this phrase before, trademark, patent pending, spiritual slaps are what I started calling experiences with the spirit world. So not all experiences, just the hard ones. So one of the things that I have learnt on my journey is, you know, when you start working with spirit, you think that they take away all of the difficulties. You think that by working with spirit and connecting to that wisdom and that knowledge, that you'll be able to move through life in a sort of beautiful ebb and flow, taken to the places you need to go, floating freely, love and light, love and light. And actually what happens when you go on the spiritual journey is it's a bit more like being Pat in EastEnders and the universe is Peggy Mitchell. For those of you who don't know what EastEnders is, it's a English soap opera, but Google Peggy slaps Pat and you'll see what I mean, because it's sometimes like someone's got you around the scruff of the neck and the universe just goes crack with whatever it is you need to learn. And I think that's really important to talk about, because I think there's a lot of people who talk about spirituality and manifesting and the universe, and there's this kind of expectation that if you're doing it right, it should be easy. And yes, I do agree that when you're in the flow, it's blooming marvelous and you can manifest all sorts of fantastic things. But we are also here to learn. And sometimes those lessons are painful, and those lessons are the feeling of a slap. So that's what we're going to talk about today, and we're going to talk about some of my lessons, because you know, I think it's really important that you know that I don't come at this having all of the answers or getting it right all of the time. I'm a human being and I quite regularly get in my own way. So one of the first things that I wanted to talk to you about is me and what spirit did for me. So when I first came across the spirit world, when my friend first got my grandfather through for me, completely unexpected, I was in a really bad place. So when I was a teenager, I had real mental health issues. I was very, very unhappy, and felt very, very unloved by the world. And I'd always been a very hopeful child and believed in the potential of people, as you know. And when I went to secondary school, you know, kids are cruel, kids are mean, school is hard, hormones suck. You know, we've all been on this journey. And it left me with a real feeling of being unsteady and uncertain. And what I didn't know when I was a teenager that I now know is that I was a really strong empath. So I could feel what everybody else was feeling. And I had that experience without any boundaries, without any way of regulating it. So it became this sort of ingrained part of my psyche where I would think that other people's stuff was my stuff, where I would think that I needed to act if other people seemed unhappy, or it just became very, very difficult. And I think, most empaths will hopefully admit that sometimes when there's that need to fit in and that pack mentality that you get in secondary school, you do things that are mean and cruel and horrible because you want to fit in, but you can also feel the energy of the impact of those decisions upon other people around you. So it's a difficult time, and I try to look back on some of the decisions that I made when I was a teenager with forgiveness and love. Not always easy. And then fast forward, I was working in financial services. I was in a very money orientated environment, a very male led environment. I have to say, I still love working towards a target. That's one of the things I really miss being self employed. I love a target. And I was working for different mortgage lenders, different companies, and I met my husband, Alex. And the weirdest thing happened there because we he lived in near Dover. I lived in Northampton, and that's quite a distance for those of you that don't know. And we spent a lot of time on the phone, and we were so connected. I mean, the first time that we spoke on the phone, I think it was like a 3.5 hour conversation. And we knew in that conversation that we were going to get married. And we did. And there was all sorts of funny things that used to happen. We used to be so synchronized that I would pick up the phone to call him and there'd be no dialing tone because he'd already tried to call me. And at that exact moment of us both picking up the phone, we connected. So, yeah, all sorts of funny things. Anyway, we moved areas and we moved to Kent. Ultimately, we lived in Surrey for a bit, and our son was 6 months old, and Toby was a very, very blessed surprise, but it did knock us a little bit. We'd only just got married, and we were young and we wanted to go traveling and do stuff. And Toby came along, surprise, which we're really grateful for now. But at the time, it was a lot to deal with. And then we added onto that a big house move, an area change. And so I was in Kent with Toby, a house, didn't know anybody. I'd lost all of my sort of security network from the NCT and everything, and I was here on my own. And I joined some toddler groups. Now, toddler groups are nearly as bad as being at secondary school, just for anyone who's not had that experience. They're toxic. You get some really, I think there's a lot of people who are very shaken up from having babies, need to validate themselves through their children's existence. And it becomes, yeah, I don't recommend them. So I was at this toddler group and all of that. So there we go. So that's where I'm at, and I'm in this really difficult place. And then the mortgage market crashes, and my husband loses his job, and we're in Kent in this big house with no money coming in and a baby. And this gets us through quite a difficult period. We both had to work incredibly hard, beg, borrow, and steal to be where we were, and it's very, very stressful. And I got a job working at this music school for one of the ladies that I'd met at toddler group. And I was in a really, really bad place. And I think she was in a really, really bad place. And some horrible things happened, which we don't need to go into. But there wasn't an awful lot of kindness there. And there wasn't a lot of love there. And I felt completely alone. And if I'm honest, completely in a space of victim. We have no money, we can't move, we've got this big house, it's stuck on me, I don't want to be here, this isn't fair. Just really, really difficult space. And I asked my grandfather for help. And that's when he came through my friend. Not immediately, I have to say. It took a few months, and gave her that message to give to me, and that started a journey which changed everything for me, completely changed everything. And one of the things that I just wanted to give you that sort of background as to where I was at and how spirit have helped me. And as I started connecting to spirit for myself and feeling that love, gosh, I used to just sob and sob and sob in the group, because that unconditional love, I'd never experienced it. That complete, you're perfect as you are, we want nothing from you, we just love you. Took me so long to be able to accept and so long to be able to receive. And I'd be lying if I said that I've got it and it's done and I'm there now and I just soak it in like a sponge. I always resist it. I think we all do. I'm better, but I always resist it. So I know that I thought that the spirit world were going to take away all of the difficulties. And so when the spiritual slaps started on my journey, I did feel a little bit let down, a little bit fed up, that I thought I'd made this commitment to spirit. I'd been working with them for X amount of time. I'd done my healing work. I'd been very, very dedicated. Now, some of the spiritual slaps, don't get me wrong, are because I didn't listen to myself and my instincts. But some of them are brought for you to learn something about yourself on your healing journey, or something that you need to solve, fix, sort out, look at, etc., etc. So one of the main things that I always have, and it always causes me problems, is a real desire to be taken under the wing of a spiritual expert who can nurture me and help me, and I guess, if I'm honest, do it all for me. And it's a really funny thing. I don't know where it's come from, but it rears its head a lot, and I'm still trying to deal with it now in different forms. One of those such spiritual experts was somebody who's a very well known light worker, who's got loads of cards and books and stuff like that. And I absolutely adored them. I thought they were amazing. And a friend and I went up to London for a day with them, where they would do talks and stuff like that. And I was really excited. And I had my backpack and I had my books in there that they'd written and my cards. And I couldn't wait. And it was all of these funny things, because I swear it was advertised as something like an intimate afternoon with, and we got there and it was really hard as an empath to be in that space, because it was elbow to elbow with loads of other people in this stuffy room, but that's beside the point. Anyway, he was there and it was amazing, and I couldn't believe it. My hero was there, and at the end, you could queue up to get him to sign the books or your cards. So my friend and I waited in this queue for him for hours. Now, my friend had come with me as something fun to do. She wasn't particularly into him. She wasn't particularly at that stage into spirit. She just went, yeah, I'll come with you. Let's have an experience. So we get there and we get to the front of the queue. And I'm going, I feel like, so a kid waiting to see Father Christmas. Way, can't wait. And my friend goes up first, and he's been hugging people and having selfies done with people, and people have got to kiss him on the cheek, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. This is so exciting. And my friend goes up, and she's bought one of his books while we're there, so he signs that and has a little chat with her. And I walk up to him, and I think my big need, if I'm honest, in my energy must have been completely repugnant to him, because he turned away from me. He physically turned his face away. And he said, oh, hello. And then he turned to my friend and said, "Are you two here together?" And she said, "Yes." And then she said, "Hannah's the real fan of yours. So I just came along with her," because she could see that he'd turned away from me. And he went, "Oh, that's nice." Wrote his name in my book and handed his book back to me without even looking at me. And then I got ushered away and the next person came in. And I was heartbroken. I was absolutely heartbroken. Now, I hold no ill will to him. I still buy his stuff actually, because, it wasn't personal, but it was a real lesson for me in expectation and need and self-reliance, which I still haven't quite got there, but that started that lesson. I can remember being with my friend on the train on the way home and I was crying my eyes out, and we were surrounded by guys who'd been to a football match, I think, and there were two men. We were sitting at one of the table seats for four, and we were one side and these two guys were the other, and we were having this ridiculous conversation, and I was going, "I just wanted him to see me, he didn't like my energy," and crying. And these two guys were just sat opposite us like, what on earth? Anyway, so that was one of my big ones, because yeah, it's funny how you build yourself up. Funny how you build yourself up to stuff. And I really, really wanted to be acknowledged by him. And another one in that same vein of wanting to be seen, but being afraid to make a noise and forcing people to see you, which is one of the things that definitely rears its head with me. I know I mentioned to you that I had a really difficult time at Arthur Findlay College. Now, forgive me if I already told you this story. I can't remember. But the first time I went to Arthur Findlay, and I was so very, very nervous. I was in a group with a lady, and it was only a weekend course. So to be fair to her, she'll work with hundreds of students. I get that. I understand that. And we were in what's called the sanctuary, which is like the church part of Arthur Findlay. It's set up like for a church service with a stage and all of the chairs like pews. And we were being taught in there, which was incredible. And for the duration of the course, I sat in the same seat, in the same place, and worked. And on the first day, on the first activity, she said, "You're all in the beginners group because you've never done a mediumship spirit connection before. Is that right?" And we all said, "Yes, yes," because I'd only worked with spirit guides. I hadn't worked with loved ones in spirit. And she went, "Okay, you're going to start now. You," and put me on the stage to do a spirit link. Gave me no advice or information about how to actually do a spirit link, just said, "They're there, tell me what you feel." And when I fumbled my way through that, I can't even remember it now. I can only remember the sound of my heart beating in my ears. She went, "Okay," gave me no feedback, and I sat back down. And everybody that followed me after that got feedback and help, and this is what you need to do, and this is how it works. And I just got nothing. I got the word "okay," and that was it. And at the end of the course, there was a student demonstration. So somebody from each group was picked by their teacher at each level to have a go at demonstrating. And the gentleman in my group had decided to do card readings because he was too nervous to do spirit links. Now, I was sat, this whole thing was held in the sanctuary. So I was sat in the sanctuary in the same seat that I'd been taught at for the whole of the course, in the same space. And my teacher from the course, he went and was trying to work out who to offer a card to. And she went, "How about this lady here? Why don't you offer her a card?" And she didn't even know I'd been in her group. She didn't even recognize me. And I was so upset, as I'm sure you can imagine, just felt completely overlooked. And when you're trying not to be sensitive about things, and you're trying not to be like poor me, but you can't help the way that you feel. I was completely invisible to her. She knew I was there, but she couldn't see me at all. Now, I get that that's a hard expectation to have on a teacher. So it was partly my fault, and I get that. But it was a real spiritual slap. And so there, a couple of really big ones about when I was first starting and I was very vulnerable and I just needed to be loved. And it really taught me that the love that I wanted to receive, I had to accept from myself. That was that lesson in there, that I was putting other people on a pedestal, thinking that they were going to change something in me, and I needed to change something in me. So I've been working on that ever since. So something else I wanted to share with you, spiritual slap wise, is the journey of being a bit of a teacher, and I'll probably do a whole podcast about being a teacher at some point. But one of the things that is always very interesting when you teach other people to do what you do is people just thinking they're better than you. This is something that I'd never experienced because I'd always been so respectful of my teachers. And this was a really big lesson for me, that you can put your heart and your soul into people and they will have no respect or courtesy for that. And one of the best examples of this, of me giving away my power, was with a girl that joined my circle at the same time as another girl, and they made this friendship. They formed this friendship, but in this friendship, they became very much like mean girls. And when other people were doing readings, they would whisper between each other. It was just really disrespectful and discourteous. And because the spirit world were training me in being a teacher and demanding that respect and requiring that respect and being unafraid to say that I wanted it. They brought me people who didn't behave very well so that I would learn to be strong. And one of them, after 3 months of bi-weekly circles, decided that she was going to do what I did, and she had set up a business reading cards. And then every time that she came to group, she would say things like, everybody just says I'm amazing. I don't get anything wrong. I'm so good. I'm so tuned in. Now, this is somebody that also, bless her, struggled with anxiety and insecurity. So I know she was trying to validate herself. I get that completely. But of course, that then damaged people who'd been in the group for longer, who didn't feel like they had that connection. It's always very interesting working in groups. And anyway, so I got these new cards, and I can tell you even which ones they were. They're the Chakra Wisdom Oracle cards, and they're beautiful. And we had them all out on the table, and she had to pull a card, and she pulled the card Prayer. And it had a jug of lemon water on it. It was all yellow colours, really, really beautiful. And she got nothing. And she went, I've got nothing. And then I went, okay, well, just sit with it. Spirit are here. We know they're here. Surrender. And because she got nothing, she got huffy. And she literally did that sort of sassy side to side head thing and went, well, I don't think it's me. So I don't know if it's this group, the energy in this space, or these shit cards, but it's not my fault. And just pushed the card across the table to me with one finger. And I was so shocked that I couldn't even respond. It was like it hadn't really happened. I was having an out of body experience. So I didn't deal with it in the moment. I had to deal with it later once I'd gone, oh my goodness. And, that felt like such a slap, because who is that disrespectful to the other people in their group, but also to their teacher? Just really, really interesting. So again, a real spiritual slap that really made me realize that I might have a set of rules and integrity about how you work, but not everybody has that. So there are a few of them, and there's been others, and I'm sure I will talk to you about others. But I've just got one eye on the clock. I could go all day on my spiritual slaps. There's the smaller ones where you get that instinct that you shouldn't be doing something and you do it anyway, and then it all blows up in your face. There are those bits where you have an instinct and a feeling about something. For me, it's normally somebody behaving in an underhand way, and then I talk myself out of it and I allow other people to talk me out of it. And then lo and behold, they do something really underhand and I go, I bloody knew that. I knew they were going to do that. So spiritual slaps take many forms. And one of the things that I wanted to say with you is that sometimes those slaps will come from people who you love, who love you. Because the universe will use them as a tool to teach you what you need to learn. So if you get a spiritual slap from somebody, don't go at it from a human perspective. Don't go at it from, well, I thought she was my friend and I can't believe she did that. Go at it from, she taught me the lesson, or try to at least. She taught me the lesson that I needed to learn, and I'm grateful for that. And, you know, sometimes it will take you a while to get there. That's not an expectation that you should be in that space straight away. Oh, hooray, you slapped me. Thank you. Can I have some more? Lovely. Bring on the lessons. Woo. But it is about accepting, you know, sometimes you will be the slapper. Sometimes you will be the slappy. And understanding your role in all of those. So that is spiritual slaps. And I'll probably talk about them again because there's a lot to say. Okay, so I've got a few emails that I've received. And as always, if you've got any emails or anything that you want to ask, please do email podcast@hannahmedium.co.uk. podcast@hannahmedium.co.uk. And please do look me up on Facebook. It's Hannah Macintyre Clairvoyant Medium. I'm a Mac, not a Mook, because I'd love to have you there. And just so you all know, I'm really bad at doing these things, but I need to do it. In my supporters group on Facebook, which is £3.49 a month, we are starting a spiritual connection Monday evening get together, which is 8 p.m. BST, and it's open to everybody and it's included as part of the £3.49 a month. So it's an absolute bargain, and we'd love to have you with us. No expectations on that. That's about private journey with spirit. It's not about giving messages. It's not about sharing that stuff to other people. It's just a space for you to work with your connection quietly. Okay, so my first email is from the lovely Ashley Davis. And she says, "Hello, Hannah. I've recently started your Starting with Spirit course and it's amazing. Thank you." Well, thank you, Ashley. "I had the most profound experience during your energy building meditation and wanted to share. At the beginning, I saw myself, but the best version of me, and I was holding something in my hands. As I got closer, it was a tiny fetus, and I knew that was me as well. I watched it grow and develop into me as a baby, then a toddler, child, teen, and now. Periodically it stopped and took me through some of my most painful memories. It was really hard and emotional, but my higher self helped me through it all. It was as if I were giving myself the comfort I needed in those times, but didn't have. Once I was grown, the process started all over, but very fast this time, but it wasn't me. First it was my mum, then her mother, then both of my grandmothers, and women that I knew were my ancestors, but I'd never seen before. We all had abandonment traumas with our own mothers, and I was able to feel that so deeply. I held all of them and loved them and did what I could do to help. When the meditation ended, I came back into my space and sobbed for a long time. I never understood when people said generational trauma until this moment. You helped me realize the healing I have to do is much deeper than I thought. Thank you for that." And Ashley had also emailed me previously and told me I looked just like one of her guides. And she's now realised that that was her guide showing her me, which I thought was really exciting. I can't believe there's spirit guides out there showing my mug to people. So you're welcome, Ashley. Okay, so Ashley's question is this. She can remember when her grandmother was in the hospital close to death. She started to hallucinate. Only I could see everything she was talking about. She saw a lion, a leprechaun, and a little girl. At the time, I just assumed I was picturing in my head what she was describing, but now I think both she and I were seeing her guides, or whoever came to help her pass. I remember getting really angry at my family when they would tell her she wasn't seeing what she was seeing. Now, as I get older, I've seen this quite a few times, but it's always written off as end of life hallucinations. Is this something you've experienced? Is this something common when people are close to passing? Now, this isn't something that I've particularly experienced, Ashley. The only thing I can liken it to is when my grandmother was in hospital and dying. I didn't see him, but I knew that my grandfather was there. I knew he was there. I could feel him. I could say hello to him. I could feel his love, and I knew he was waiting with her. And I also invoked the angels to come and stand by my grandmother. And at that time, my beliefs were slightly different, but I asked them to keep a doorway open to help her pass straight over to the other side, which is what I think happens to all of us now. But at the time, I wasn't really sure. And I could really feel the presence of that angel. Absolutely. And I wasn't there when my grandmother passed, but the morning that she passed, I was cleaning my teeth. The morning of the day that she passed, I was cleaning my teeth. And the angel came and stood beside me and said to me, she's gone through the door. And I went, oh my goodness, okay, I better ring my mum. And they said, no, her body's still going. It will be soon, just wait, and they will contact you. So I knew that her soul had moved through, but I knew that she was unconscious, and I knew that her body was just closing down, if that makes sense. So in answer to your question, I absolutely believe that people can see things. I think the veil thins. So as the spirit world get ready to welcome that person back, I think lots of loved ones, their spirit guides, their guardian angels, all of that huge amount of team that we work with, as well as our loved ones in spirit who have been waiting for us and watching us all that time, they step forward. And that presence of that energy and that space, together with that person who's moving into spirit and their soul is going home, in that space, you end up with like a thinner veil, an energy that's stronger to connect, and makes it easier to see things. So yes, I absolutely do believe that she was seeing her guides. And I absolutely do believe that lots of people see and have experiences of loved ones that are near them and come to collect them. Absolutely. And I think it's amazing. It's so comforting. And, you have to forgive the people that don't believe it and don't understand it. It's too much for them. But wow, just incredible and amazing, Ashley, that you could see what she was seeing. How amazing. What an experience. So I hope that helps. Let's have a look. I've got another 2 questions. It's exciting today. So the next one is from Anya, and Anya is from Belfast. What led me to look for a mediumship podcast was my cousin had passed away very sadly last week due to his battle with drugs. He is my second cousin in the last 6 years, and they were both very young. A few days after his passing, I had a voice in my head that sounded like me, but I knew it was him saying, "Don't worry, I'm okay." And from that moment, I haven't shed any more tears. I initially thought I was thinking it because I hoped that's what he would say, but on the other hand, I knew deep down it was him. It can all be very confusing. You're not wrong, Anya. I have always known that I've had some sort of gift, as you would say, but I've ignored it due to fear. From a very young age, my mum told me I would have told her I could see my granda, who I never met as he passed away a few years before I was born, and would put plasters on the chair because he had sore legs and needed his walking stick. This was all completely true, but I could never have known about it because I was 4 years old at the time. And my aunt, who had lost a child, had come into the house one day after seeing a medium, and I had said, "There's a little boy on your shoulder," which is exactly what the medium had told her a few hours ago. I've also seen things before they have felt like I'm an old soul. I've been here before. The word lightworker has been in my head a lot recently. It has always been something that I've tried to push aside, but I can't I feel like I can't anymore, sorry, and need to embrace now. Could this be a sign that I need to, or am I just crazy? Well, Anya, we're all crazy here. So, welcome to the club. Um, Amazing, absolutely incredible. And I do, when I speak to spirit, when I hear spirit, just so you know, Anya, it is my own voice in my own head. It doesn't sound like a separate person speaking to me. I've had that twice, but generally speaking, it's just my own voice in my own head. Um, Now, the thing is, I believe that everybody has the ability to connect to spirit in some way and feel that presence. Some people are more mediumistically inclined, so able to do evidential connections, and some people it works in different ways for. I think the very fact that you've emailed me means that you know that this is a sign from spirit, that it's there for you. But they will always respect your free will and choice. They don't force anyone down a journey. So they're offering it to you. I always say it's like waiters at a cocktail party. They're going past with the canapes. They're offering you a canapé, but it's up to you whether you take it or not. So I don't think you're crazy or no crazier than me and everybody else who listens to this podcast. Welcome to the club. But there is no pressure. So you will know when you feel ready to start exploring that. And that's completely up to your own free will and choice, if that makes sense. So I hope that does. But some amazing things that you've seen, Anya. I know people that would give up a finger to be able to have that level of connection. So sounds amazing. Okay, and the last question. Oh, it's not a question actually. It's just some feedback from Claire Berryman, but I wanted to share it with you all. So Claire is a mental health counsellor in Australia, and she's been hearing me talk about this shift in the demanding nature of others. And she says it affects the energy of others so much that I've gone from being extroverted to an introverted extrovert. I find that this has been a lesson in learning how to read and work with the energy of others. I can't pinpoint the exact moment. However, during the pandemic, the message of forgive the fear came to me on quite a few occasions. This in no way excuses the negative or offensive aspects of others' behaviour. How I feel it has taught me to exercise my empathy and compassion muscles to develop as a person and as a spirit. I found that by cutting through the surface issue to the fear and validating that emotion, personally as well as professionally, they are able to reframe their behaviour more in line with their true values. Maybe those demanding to be connected are looking for an anchor to cling to in these times of uncertainty. As I mentioned, it doesn't excuse the behaviour nor take away any validity, I can speak, away from what you feel on the receiving end of it, but it might be a different way of looking at it. I'm really enjoying the podcast and the layman way you teach. It makes me feel as if my experiences are normal and unique to me and my soul, and that's okay. And I just wanted to share that with everybody because I do completely agree with what Claire says. And this is the funny thing, isn't it? About energy work and boundaries. You can empathize and understand somebody's behavior and still not allow it into your energetic space. And yet the answer is always love. Love is the antidote to fear, always. And so we have to try and sit in that as much as we can. I'm very passionate about not judging yourself when you're unable to sit in that energy. I feel that, it's impossible to expect yourself to maintain it all the time, but every moment that you can is a moment where love has won. Every moment that you don't take something personally is a moment where you have allowed your spirit to soar. And I'm sure you all saw it on the VIPs group on Facebook, but I really do recommend listening at the moment to the Chemical Brothers, The Darkness That You Fear. The first time I heard it, I was like, what is this? But it is such a great track for me at the moment. I'm playing it on repeat because it just keeps me in that energy. So give it a listen. It's a bit like having a nutty meditation, but I love it. And I love the fact that these kind of messages are getting more mainstream, that are getting out there. This is part of that ascension of the planet. This is part of the age of Aquarius. It's not going to be hidden anymore. We can all move forward in the light, all of us. There's space for everyone. So thank you very much for listening. And as I said, please do get in contact with your questions. I love to hear them. I love to hear your thoughts, your ideas. Please do. This is a collaboration between us all. And I will see you on the next one. Have a great day.